We need to get you de-stressed, my friend, and we need to keep you from getting so stressed out going forward. It can be done, and I'm going to tell you how in this video. Sound good? So I learned about this method of reducing and preventing stress a few years ago, and I'm just so excited to share it with you because it did change my life in wonderful ways, and I know that it can do that for you too if you give it a serious go. And it works quickly, which is nice. It works pretty fast, so that's a good thing. So anyway, before I jump right into it, let's just make sure we're on the same page about a couple things, okay? Okay, so I'm pretty sure I know the reason that you want to de-stress. I mean, it feels like hell, doesn't it? Nobody likes feeling like that. And it's a huge waste of mental and emotional energy, isn't it? Life is way too short for all that. But have you also considered the reasons that you really need to de-stress and mitigate future stress for that matter? Let's take just a second and go over a couple things because it is really important that you're clear about that part of it as well. All right, so let's talk about a few ways that stress can be harmful to your body and to your life for that matter. The first one, of course, is it can really mess up your immune system. And I'm going to circle back around on that one in just a second. It can also mess up your sleep. And I think we've all experienced that at one point or another, right? It can be, it can definitely mess with our personal relationships. A really stressed out person is not always so wonderful to be around, for sure. And of course, it can also, a lot of people don't think about this one, but it really can impair your ability to perform at your best, like whether it's your job or your hobby or sports or just your relationships, whatever it is, those areas that are important in your life, it can definitely mess with your ability to perform really well in those areas. So anyway, that's just for starters. So I do want to circle back on this issue of your immune system for just a moment, and then I'm going to jump right in and I'm going to tell you one really powerful thing that you can start doing today to start taking control of all this. Okay, so your immune system. Stress is terrible for your immune system. It just really dampens its ability to, protect you the way that you need it to. It's that whole mind-body connection thing, right? Those two things are not disassociated from one another. So, when you get really stressed out, all these stress chemicals start running around in your body, and those are not good for your immune system. And I think we all know that when our immune systems get challenged hard enough in long enough that basically that's when some bad things can start to happen, right? So I know you don't want that. So please take care of that one and only immune system of yours, okay? Okay, so what can you do about all this anyway? Well, there are several things, but today I'm going to share one powerful, easy, and free thing that you can do right away to start addressing this. And it's perhaps something that you've heard about and written off in the past, like I did for a long time. And or maybe you tried it briefly, but not seriously, and then sort of wrote it off. So in either case, I hope that when I tell you what it is, that you will just sort of lean in and listen to what I have to say, because I promise if you do, it will be worth it. So your solution, my friend, is meditation. It's true. And I'm going to tell you how I know and how I sort of accidentally stumbled onto it a few years ago. So it was about 3 years ago, and I was feeling really fed up with the fact that I felt mentally drained in the evenings. I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, and I really wanted to be able to have some brain power left in the early evenings after dinner so I could just get a couple more hours of work done sometimes and actually have it be high quality work. So that was a frustration I was dealing with at the time, and that's why when I sort of accidentally bumped into this next thing I'm going to tell you about, my ears, I kind of perked up a little bit. So one day I was listening to this podcast, a business podcast actually, that I listen to pretty often. And that day the host had this woman, she was interviewing this woman by the name of Emily Fletcher, who's a meditation teacher out of New York. And it was really interesting. I'll tell you more about Emily in a second, but she was talking about the neuroscience around meditation, which I had never heard any discussions like that before. And it was fascinating. She was talking about the science side of it. There's a lot of, who knew? There's a lot of scientific studies and proof and stuff around how meditation like physically changes our brain. So anyways, that caught my attention. So all this stuff that Emily was talking about was making a lot of sense to me. And after years of turning my nose up at meditation, I was becoming pretty interested actually. And, along with all this, the neuroscience stuff that she was talking about, she was also explaining what meditation is not. And she was explaining that it's not about sitting still for long periods of time and not moving. And it's not about, sitting there and not having any thoughts cross your mind. And it's not, about, I don't know, chanting out loud or any of those things. So that was also very interesting. Prior to that, I wasn't really sure exactly what meditation was and wasn't. There's a lot of confusing terms that float around. There's the mindfulness and the meditation, and there's these apps, and there's all these things, right? And then unfortunately, the terms get interchanged a lot. Mindfulness and meditation, they are two different things. Emily's great at explaining the difference and teaching you how to do both. So I was pretty confused about it all. Maybe that's part of the reason I actually sort of like brushed it off for a while. But, I knew it wasn't necessarily a religious thing. Of course, I know like Buddhist monks meditate, but that's a very different type of meditation. Certainly the meditation styles that are really taught, at least in the Western part of the world these days, are basically, secular or non-religious. And I knew that much. But anyway, so it was interesting to get some clarity around that. So because I was really serious about fixing my situation that I mentioned earlier, and also just about managing stress in general, mitigating, future stress as much as possible, I went ahead and enrolled in Emily's online meditation course. And I have to say, I was impressed right out of the gate. I started to see some benefits right away, so that kept me motivated. It was easy for me to do because it didn't really take that much time out of my day. It's a 2-week course, but it's like little small chunks of time each day. And I actually looked forward to it. And that was the other surprise, is I was really pleased to learn that meditation, at least the way Emily teaches it. Now I know there's different styles and whatnot, but I found it to be really relaxing and enjoyable, and something that I look forward to. So that was definitely an awesome an awesome surprise. So as far as some of the benefits that I started experiencing right away after I started meditating regularly, well, of course, I did have more mental energy in the evenings, which was great because that's why I did it in the first place. But I did have a lot of other benefits besides that. Certainly, I definitely, my focus improved, and that just improves over time as you do it more and more. And I could feel that starting to happen, and that has happened. Certainly, I just felt less like scatterbrained in general. Even when I wasn't trying to just sit and focus doing something, but you know how that is, where you're just sort of all over the place. It's not terribly helpful in being productive a lot of times. So that got better for me, and that is pretty common. Also, too, I became less reactionary, which was very interesting. So like in an upsetting situation, just kind of being less reactionary. So that was a nice surprise. My sleep was pretty good before that, but it did get a bit better. I could definitely feel a little bit of a difference there. I know people who have a terrible time sleeping that start meditating regularly. It can make their sleep like incredibly better. And it was really interesting. One really interesting thing for me was, when I started taking that course at that time in my life, I wasn't experiencing a lot of mental or emotional stress. So I didn't really think much about how it would impact me that way. I was more thinking like in the future, like let's calm things down at a cellular level so that we can, prevent as much stress, or I can prevent as much stress as possible in the future. But what was interesting is, even though mentally I wasn't feeling that stress, what I figured out is, as I would sit down to meditate, I could feel that there was stress in my body, stress or, tension in my body. And so, meditation is excellent at helping you, deal with that and get rid of that. So that was quite interesting. And yeah, lots of benefits for me for sure. So needless to say, I have become a huge fan of meditation over the last few years of practicing, and I really truly know that every single person can benefit in just a huge way by taking up a regular meditation practice. And so I've become pretty passionate about sharing that with people, because it's just it's powerful. So, and of course, I think everybody should learn from Emily, because I personally think she's just the best. But so on that note, I have an awesome totally free resource for you that I'm going to share with you in a few minutes. It's something that Emily's put together to help you get started with meditating, and well, it's awesome. But before I get into that, let me just tell you a little something about this awesome woman named Emily Fletcher, who I do not know personally, but I will forever be grateful to. That is for sure. Let's see. Well, for starters, her work has been featured in places like Vogue and ABC News and the New York Times. She's spoken on meditation for performance at places like Google and the Harvard Business School. And she has trained oh gosh, all kinds of people, Fortune 500 CEOs, Navy SEALs. That's pretty cool. Um, and pro athletes, celebrities, and then just a whole bunch of regular people like me and you. In fact, I think it's something like over 15,000 people have learned to meditate with her, and either through her online courses like what I did or through her live events. And of course, she does a lot of live streaming things too. So anyway, yeah, pretty impressive. I think some of the reasons that she's been so successful is not only that she's knowledgeable and experienced when it comes to meditation and the practice of meditation, but her teaching style is very easy to adopt. She uses lots of stories and analogies to sort of break down concepts, which I found helpful, and I think that's really important. And also too, she's just she can be entertaining at times, which is fun. A little side note, I personally think it's just the coolest thing in the world that she created the world's first online meditation course. I mean, that's pretty spectacular as far as I'm concerned. But needless to say, she's a pretty big deal in the meditation world, and she's a tremendous person to learn from, and she's just a delightful soul on top of all that. So there you go. So what do you think? Are you ready to give meditation a try? I mean, if you've watched this far into the video, I'm pretty sure you're ready to de-stress like yesterday. Am I right? So, and now you just have the answer sitting right here in front of you. So what do you say? Here's my advice. Be curious, be brave, and take control. So if you're ready to give this thing a go, here's what you want to do next. I'm going to give you a link here. Emily and her team have put together actually a really fantastic, totally free resource center for you to help you get started with meditating. And so I'm going to drop the link in the description below, or perhaps it's above this video. Maybe there's even a button on the screen here on the video. It just sort of depends on where you're watching this really. But anyway, grab the link, click the link, and get on over there into that free resource center. I will tell you this, I would 100% recommend that if you can, you take her full online meditation course. It will teach you how to be a real deal, self-sufficient meditator. I don't know if that's a word, but anyway, you know what I mean. Without apps and audio things and props and all that stuff, like just on your own, anywhere, anytime. And so it's really incredible. But if you can't do that for some reason, the second thing is I would strongly recommend take that online course preview that I just showed you, because that is the first 3 days of the course, and you will get a lot out of that alone, in addition to the other free resources that are in there. So be sure and take some time and for yourself, and go through some of those other resources that she has in there, because they are incredible. She's curated a really nice selection of things to help folks. So anyway, be sure you do that. All right, well, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really hope that this information served you. And you know what? After you've practiced your meditation for a week or so, I would love to hear what you have to say about that. So come back over to my YouTube channel at Thrive Sister Thrive, or go to my Instagram account and send me a DM and let me know. I want to hear your thoughts, okay? All right. Until then, take good care and be well.